HMV has always been one of the biggest names in music retail in the UK. Today, the company's logo of a dog listening to his master's voice, where the name HMV originally comes from, is one of the most recognisable brands in the country. For years, almost every major city in the UK had an HMV store selling everything from DVDs to computer games, and of course, music. But sadly, the company has recently gone into decline and has been forced to close lots of its stores and lose many of its staff. So where did it all go wrong for music's top dog? The first HMV store opened in 1921 on Oxford Street in London. Its arrival was greeted with great fanfare, and Britain's most famous composer at the time, Edward Elgar, attended the opening. The shop was instantly popular. At first, it only sold gramophone records, but soon added to its range by selling television sets, gramophone players, and radios. Throughout the 20th century, the company grew steadily. Then, with the explosion of pop music in the 50s and 60s, and the availability of cheaper records in different sizes, HMV began to expand rapidly. By the 1970s, it had become the largest music retailer in the UK. The 1980s were even more successful, as developments in technology meant that many consumers were replacing their vinyl record collection with new compact discs, which were more durable, provided better sound quality, and took up less storage space than vinyl records. In the 1990s, HMV started to expand around the world, and soon there were HMV stores in the rest of Europe, Australia, the USA, Canada, Japan, India, Hong Kong, and Singapore. By the company's 75th birthday in 1996, there were 320 HMV stores across the globe. In 1998, the HMV Group bought two well-known high street bookstores, Dillons and Waterstones, giving the group an additional 195 stores across the UK. By this time, HMV was one of the biggest names in home entertainment, offering huge choice to the consumer. As well as CDs, every HMV store sold CD players, DVDs, posters, computer games, and much more. When the company floated on the stock exchange in 2002, it was valued at an astonishing £1 billion. If it hadn't been for innovations in technology, HMV would probably never have enjoyed this huge success. But by the beginning of the new millennium, technology was starting to threaten the very dominance it had helped to create. The digital revolution meant that online retailers such as Amazon or Apple's iTunes store could offer a huge choice of music to buy or download at cheaper prices. Suddenly, customers had more choice at their fingertips than they could ever have had in an HMV store. So inevitably, they started shopping at home, rather than hitting the high street. HMV's profits started to plummet, and their debts soared. The company, which had thrived for over 80 years, was now at a turning point. Perhaps if HMV had recognised the potential of buying music online, as their new rivals did, they could have continued to prosper. In fact, the company might possibly have become one of the biggest online music retailers in the world. After all, The power of their brand and their existing connections within the music, film, and games industries meant that HMV should have been ideally placed to take advantage of the digital boom. The company should have rivaled the online giants, but instead it prioritised its high street outlets, believing that most customers would choose to shop in a real store. By the time HMV launched their own digital download service in 2010, many believed that they had already missed the boat. The digital age has led to huge growth for the likes of Amazon and iTunes, and has provided even more consumer choice through online streaming companies such as Spotify. But HMV has continued to decline. But is this really the end? HMV has been around for almost 100 years, and it's still a much-loved brand. In 2012, a year before it went into administration, it still accounted for 22% of music and video sales. Experts say that HMV might have to resize and restructure, and it will probably have to change to suit the digital music market. But it can still play a major role in the UK's music industry. Like all successful companies, HMV will have to adapt in order to survive.